Hi everyone, welcome back to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith. Recently, I was able to attend the CMON Expo 2016 in Atlanta, and I thought I would try to create a quick video summarizing all the different things that I did and saw and share that with you. The Expo is basically a small convention. There was around 300 people in attendance, lots of special guests, and several activities. The first demo I did was for Blood-Borne, a game that's coming out by Eric Lang and from CMON. I can't show you any close-ups of the game itself because this is a licensed game and they weren't quite yet approved to be able to release some of the art assets to the public. If you squint, you might be able to make something out there. I haven't played the video game myself, but in essence, the players are characters that are collectively trying to defeat monsters that keep appearing. And as you do damage, you're each going to collect your own blood tokens, but there's a tension about stashing your collected blood because if you die before you do, then you lose what you had. And in this game, you die a bunch. The next game we played was Mora. This takes place in the universe of Arcadia Quest, but it's quite a different game. I have a Periscope going over the game in detail that I'll put a link to in the description of this video if you'd like to check that out. But basically, each player has a single hero with special abilities and unique upgrades that can be unlocked as you play. And you're going to explore a dungeon that starts with one tile and then grows out in front of you as you explore out. This game also encourages you to interact with the fellow players, usually by damaging them in some ways and trying to hurt them. The monsters in the game are actually six-sided dice. You roll the dice and that determines what kind of monster it is you're facing. Of course, there are miniatures in the game as well, the heroes that you play as, and these are compatible with Arcadia Quest, and the heroes from Arcadia Quest are going to be able to be brought into Mora as well. Those of you who know me well know I don't like to offer opinions and reviews on games that we feature here on the channel, but I will say after playing this game, Pep and I both said, okay, we need to play this again before the weekend is over. And we did. Captain America Civil War was also premiering this weekend, and thankfully the CMON people took us all out to go see it because I would have been useless otherwise. I was so excited to see this movie. I really needed to get it out of my system. I think I was driving all of my friends nuts with the excitement I had to go see it. I will tell you my opinion on the movie. I loved it. Attendees at the show could sign up to play certain games with some of the special guests, and Joel and Joseph signed up to play a game of Arcadia Quest Inferno with myself and Guile. Guile's one of the developers of the Arcadia Quest game. Inferno is an upcoming big box expansion for Arcadia Quest. You can play it straight out of the box or mix it in with the original base game. And it provides new scenarios, new monsters, new heroes, and a new mechanism called corruption. A lot of the items and hero abilities allow you to take corruption and add it to your heroes to gain a benefit. But the catch is that as you accumulate corruption, you become more susceptible to dangers that might occur in the scenario. So there's a downside to it, but the temptation to take that corruption to give you that extra die roll you really need is a very powerful driving force. Now, while I was playing this very civilized game of Arcadia Quest Inferno, several tables away, Pep was playing a game, and I could tell because there was so much noise coming from that table. After my game was over, I had to get up and go see what was going on. Well, he was playing this game called Ta-Da by designer Steve Avery, and you might recognize some other familiar faces at the table, Marty from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, Jamie and Chris from the Secret Cabal, and it was just pandemonium. Each player gets dealt this spell that shows several symbols you'll find on dice. Each round, simultaneously, players will be rolling their dice furiously, trying to find those symbols, and they can only lock one of the dice to that symbol per turn. Then you have to pick up the rest of your dice, throw them in the cup, shake them, and roll them again. The catch is there's usually a group challenge of some kind. Maybe you have to cross your hands, or stand up and sit down every time you lock a die. You can also affect other players, forcing them to do something specific as well. It drew a crowd, it was a lot of fun to watch, and in large part that was certainly due by the dynamics of the group at the table. This is very much a party game. If you want to play it serious, I'm sure it loses a lot of its fun. But these guys, in my opinion, we're doing it right. Potion Explosion was certainly one of the games I'd seen images of and was very curious to try. You'll hear some comparisons to Bejeweled in games like that because you have this contraption with all these marbles in it, and when you draw a marble out, the rest of the marbles drop down. And if the ones that clack together are the same color, you then take those out as well. And then if the next ones that roll down and clack together are the same color, you take them as well. So you can create these chain reactions of collecting all these, what they are called, is potion ingredients that you're then going to be mixing together to create these different potions. As you do, you'll gain points as well as one-time abilities you can use to further benefit your efforts to impress the potion professor and win the game. I definitely wanted to sneak this one into my bag and bring it home with me. The next day that I came into the expo, Tom from the Dice Tower and Mark from Board Game Corner called me over to play a game they were just starting to learn called Looters. Some of the games I mentioned already have that element of being able to backstab your neighbors. Well, this one has that in spades as well. It's a very simple game. You're constantly collecting new characters and then using them to allow you to loot and get more gold, which is how you win the game, or attack your opponent's characters to prevent them from being able to loot. This was another game I made a point of coming back and playing a second time. After Looters, I was called over to try out the prototype for an upcoming game called The Godfather by Eric Lang. This game is not going to Kickstarter, but it's going to have miniatures and lots of components, like you'd expect from the more traditional Cool Mini or Not games. This is based on the movie series, and you're playing as rival capos vying for the Godfather's seat at the head of the mafia families. So over the course of the game, you're deploying your thugs to shake down businesses for goods, to complete jobs and gain influence over various city blocks. Ultimately, you're trying to gain the most money, but to score it, you have to stash it into your briefcase, which takes further actions. You certainly feel like you're rivaling with the other players, dumping their thugs into the river, and engaging in a variety of unsavory activities. Again, what we were playing with here was very much prototype components, but the gameplay itself I think was pretty near final. Tom and I also got to play Arcadia Quest Pets with some of the attendees. This is another game in the Arcadia Quest line. It adds new monsters, scenarios, tiles, and you can mix it in with the base game as well as with Inferno. And unsurprisingly, it adds pets to the game. Each player gets one, but you can have up to 2 at once, and there's a variety of cute and ferocious options. But I think the most notable thing about it was that it added this new element without bogging the game down with a bunch of extra rules to remember. That's of course very much my personal opinion, but it felt like this added more without adding more work. Certainly one I'll be looking to add to my already bursting boxes of Arcadia Quest figures. Now, one game I knew I was going to be playing before I got there was Game of Thrones 2nd Edition, because Marty and Tony, myself and Pep, and Chris and Jamie had decided this was a game we wanted to play during one of the evenings. Certainly a game, because of the length and, well, how far apart we live from each other, we would not normally get to play. And it was fantastic. I played the Martells, which I've never played before, and went from last place to a very respectable 2nd place finish, just behind Pep, who with his Lannisters just took the table apart. Again, a great group of people to play with, especially in a game that can create a certain amount of tension. Here you can see Tony in the corner crying after a particularly rough battle. Okay, no, I'm kidding. He's just on the phone. Another game I played several times just because of how quick it was to play was Unusual Suspects. Essentially, you'll have one player who knows from this grid of 12 suspects who the guilty person is, and they will have to give clues saying yes or no to questions about the suspects. However, the only thing you have to go by are the looks of the suspects themselves. So the question might be, does this person enjoy going on cruise ships? Then the informant says either yes or no. And then the rest of the table, by appearance only, have to look at the suspects and try to eliminate ones who don't fit the answer. Over time, trying to narrow it down to the final correct suspect. Also at the show is a game I'm very familiar with, The Grizzled, but more particularly, the new upcoming expansion for it called The Orders. This allows you to play the game solo, provides some new rules for 2-player games, and lets you adjust the difficulty level and how you set the intensity each round. Bebo and I from GameWire did a video, and I'll put a link in the description of this video if you'd like to check it out and see more details. But here's a picture of me getting what I think was probably my worst hand ever in a game of The Grizzled, which led us to our defeat. Although it's the Cool Mini or Not Expo, other vendors and publishers are invited to come take part, and one of them was Blood-Borne. They're a subscription service you sign up for, and then every month you receive a box of goodies in the mail with different kinds of games and things in it. I'd heard about them before, but this was the first chance I had to see the contents of the boxes up close. And again, although it's called the Cool Mini or Not Expo, and they have lots and lots of Cool Mini or Not games there, they also have lots of games from other publishers in their library that you can pull from and play. I brought a deck of ashes because both Marty and Tony love playing the game, and Pep himself even built a deck to bring with him. And we played 3 matchups each against one another, with the Canadian dynamic duo winning the matches. But either way, it was a lot of fun, and those were great guys to play with. Jamie and Chris from the Secret Cabal brought monikers. I'd never played that game before, and there was a big bunch of us playing all at once. That was a lot of fun. A group of us also played Time's Up. That's a game I'll almost never turn down, and this one was full of hilarity as well. I believe Tom brought this copy of Crazy Carts, a new upcoming game from Portal Games, and we played a full 8-person race here, and I guess Pep and I were on a bit of a roll because we won that game too. I also brought Strike with me, which some people ignorantly refer to as dice in a bowl. Clearly it's gladiators fighting in an arena, and teaching and playing this with these guys was a riot. Now, I've heard Jamie and Chris talk about Dutch Blitz on their podcast several times. I'd never played it before, and I had to give it a shot. Let's just say when I got home, I ordered it, and it's on its way to me now. But wow, what an exhausting game. As I conclude here, I just want to mention something that, well, pretty much everyone talks about when they come back from a convention. Sure, the games are fun, and everyone has a good time playing them, but one of the things that you really take with you are the memories of the people that you played the games with. I'm very fortunate because of the content that I create. I've been able to meet other content creators, and we've formed these friendships online that now, because we attend conventions together, just brings us that much closer together. These cons really have become little mini camps for adults. And then I get to meet other people who maybe have been watching Watch It Played for years or a couple of weeks, and we sit down, we play a game together, we have fun, and we make a really meaningful connection, and that's really something special. While we were there, it was even Pep's birthday. I didn't even know that. He never told me. So we got a slice of cake, put a candle in it, and got to commemorate that way with him. Speaking of Pep, I just want to say again, it was really great having him there with me. Oftentimes when I go to these shows, I'm going alone, and having someone else there to bounce ideas off of, work on the content with, and be able to plan for the future with is really, really helpful. So a big thanks to him. And just before we go, I'll leave you with this image of Marty eating a massive container of popcorn that is 3 days old. At the end of Civil War, he went back for a refill, and this popcorn stuck around, and honestly was really good still. So don't judge us too harshly for eating it. If you have any questions about the expo or anything that I mentioned here, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. But until the next episode, thanks for watching.